Christmas Eve was beautiful for many areas of Newfoundland and Labrador, albeit cold. Check out this drone video looking over St. John's and Mount Pearl earlier this morning. It was gorgeous. The snow was freshly fallen. The sky was blue. I can assure you that tomorrow is not going to look like this, and neither will Boxing Day, and neither will Saturday or Sunday. We'll talk about it in all the detail I can give you in this Christmas Eve update after I thank tonight's forecast sponsor, Community Credit Union. Visit Community Credit Union, where you're more than just a member. You're part of our community. Branches are located in Marystown, Witless Bay, and Hermitage. Visit our website, ccunl.ca, for details. All right, the forecast for tonight across Newfoundland and Labrador for Santa's arrival doesn't look too bad. Cold, a few flurries early, snow arriving late in eastern areas of Newfoundland, and the snow becomes a lot more widespread as we go into Christmas Day. Although in the east, that snow is eventually going to mix with and change to rain, specifically on the Avalon. The question right now is just how far west does that rain-snow line go? So we'll talk about it in the weather headlines. This should give you a good idea of what I'm expecting over the next 24 plus hours. So timing-wise of the snow, it arrives early in the morning. And what I mean by that is after midnight, before about 3 or 4 a.m. for the Burin and Avalon peninsulas. And then that will move northwest as we go throughout the day, arriving in Labrador and likely the northern peninsula by evening. With the change to rain, I am expecting that now on the Avalon, specifically the eastern half of the Avalon, but there's still a question in that. Essentially, it's how far west does that rain-snow line go, and how much rain do we see after the change? Right now, it looks like that change, at least for the Southern Shore and Metro, will happen around midday. I'm thinking about noon. I'll have a shovel alert for you at that point, because once the rain starts, it's really hard to move the snow the longer it rains on top of it, which is my question: how much rain do we get after that transition? And then we're also looking at another round of high wind speeds. Now, not going to be as widespread as the last round, with a lot of areas only seeing gusts to about 80 or 90. However, the northern peninsula and southern parts of Labrador along the coast, we'll see winds gusting in excess of 115, possibly as high as 125. It looks like beginning to more evening, continuing into the early morning hours of Boxing Day. We'll time that out for you as well as we go through this forecast. So, out ahead of the incoming weather maker, Environment and Climate Change Canada has issued 2 different types of winter storm warnings. We've got the yellow-coded warning and the orange-coded warning. The difference between the two is the severity of the winter storm expected. So where it's yellow, we're going to see snow, we're going to see wind. It's not expected to be overly severe on either count. Where it's orange, we're expecting heavier snowfall, potentially upwards of 50 centimeters, and the high wind speeds I was talking about just a couple minutes ago. On top of that, we are also looking at a blowing snow advisory for Conagra, Buckens in the interior, and Parsons Pond Hawke's Bay, as these areas are expecting some snow, 5 to 15 centimeters-ish, and winds gusting as high as 80 or 90, creating areas of blowing and drifting snow. And this begins tonight, continues through tomorrow in some areas on the northern peninsula, in Labrador, into tomorrow night, and possibly early in the morning on Boxing Day. Satellite radar imagery showing our area of low pressure is looking quite nice. And when a meteorologist says nice, that's generally not a good thing for the public. This is a very classic looking developing low pressure center. The comma is already visible. The low is sitting somewhere in that comma head there, and that is going to work its way toward the northeast and rapidly intensify overnight, ending up near the Avalon by about this time tomorrow. As that happens, the precipitation will move in, but this is the overall gist of the track. Area of low pressure rapidly intensifies. It gets very close to the Avalon tomorrow afternoon, hence the reason we're going to see that mix to rain, and then works its way up toward the coast of Labrador into the Labrador Sea early Friday morning, and then we await the arrival of storm number 2 later in the day on Boxing Day. We'll touch on that one as well. So timing this out for you hour by hour, we'll start at midnight tonight. At that point, snow just getting underway for the southeast Avalon. As we go through the overnight, and by tomorrow morning, after Santa's long gone, the snow has moved into the Avalon, Bonavista Peninsula, northeast coast, and it's getting heavier and steadier. Once it starts, it will pick up in intensity rather quickly. We're looking at snowfall rates of like 2 to 4 plus centimeters an hour for a large part of the areas that see the heavy snowfall, which is going to be on the Avalon through about midday. And you can see there, by 9 a.m., it's still snowing heavily on the Avalon, back to the Bonavista Peninsula, snowing in Gander, then Grand Falls, Windsor. You're getting it just beginning on the Northern Peninsula. But what we're going to watch is this rain-snow line move back to the northwest after 9 a.m., and it looks like by noon, that has arrived across much of the eastern half of the Avalon after some very heavy snowfall. Again, the question is, how far west does that rain-snow line go, and how long does it rain for after that transition? This computer model here, the GRAF model, shows about 3 to 6 hours of rain, potentially in the metro area after significant amounts of snow. We'll talk about the snowfall amount shortly, but it looks like around 15 to 20 centimeters for the city before that changed to rain. As we get into the evening, that's winding down, but it's still snowing heavily at that time for Central, getting on to the Northern Peninsula, working into southeastern Labrador, and as the night progresses, the snow ends kind of quickly on the island. That's the saving grace about this one. Works toward the coast of Labrador and then offshore of there by about midday Friday. So how much snow are we talking about? Well, the most is going to be in the southeast and southern part of Labrador's coast. As we zoom into eastern areas, it looks like the northern half of the Burin Peninsula, the Avalon North, Southern Shore, Northeast Avalon, between 15 and 25 centimeters before any change to rain. Now that change to rain is limited again to the Avalon. Burin Peninsula, you're not going to see it. It looks like the western half of Trepassey Bay around St. Mary's Bay back to Placentia, the southwest Avalon, we're looking at about 15 centimeters in these areas. But as we go further northwest, Bonavista Peninsula, Clarenville, Gander, Lumsden, Twillingate, Fogo Island, Port Leamington, Botwood, almost Bishop's Falls, much of the Baie Verte Peninsula, we're looking at 25 to 40 centimeters of snow. And same thing for a large part of the Northern Peninsula. As we get back to the west coast, Townley, Deer Lake, Corner Brook, Steady Brook, Pasadena, Trout River, Cowhead, Rocky Harbor, North Point, Woody Point, looks like around 5 to 15 centimeters for you. And again, heavier amounts on the Northern Peninsula, especially as you get away from the Gulf side, where it looks like 25 to 40s on the way along the Gulf, looks like 15 to 25, and then we get up into Labrador, where again, 40 to 50 on the way from near the Straits up through just south of Cartwright, and those snowfall amounts drop off pretty sharply once we get north and west of there. The other facet of this is going to be the wind. Tomorrow morning, the winds aren't too bad. As we go throughout the day tomorrow, the wind speeds begin to pick up. 84 gusting in Bonavista at midday, 73 Fogo, 47 Springdale, 49 St. Anthony. Watch what happens by 5, 6 o'clock. St. Anthony are gusting 88, Fogo gusting 102. That is impressive, but watch what happens as we get into midnight tomorrow night. Forecast gusts for St. Anthony is north-northwest at 120. 107 in Lancelot, 96 in Black Tickle, 75 Port au Choix, 115 at midnight tomorrow night for areas like Fogo, Jobat's Arm, and getting back towards Change Island, Twillingate, New World Island, a good bit of essentially the Bay of Exploits and almost kind of the head there of Bonavista Bay, Cape Friels, where Bonavista Bay meets Bay of Exploits, if you will. And then we go into Labrador, and Black Tickle will see very strong wind speeds from midnight tomorrow night through about 5, 6 a.m. on Saturday. Same thing for the Cartwright area. If we were talking about the old weather alerts, I would say a blizzard warning might be necessary for this area because we're certainly going to hit that criteria. The wind speeds will back off there after about midday, but it does look like even the morning hours on Friday, Black Tickle still in for those high wind speeds, potentially gusting as high as about 130. So I do suspect we're likely going to see some power outages on the Northern Peninsula and the southeast coast of Labrador. So if you're in that area, you're watching this, be prepared for those outages. Things calm down after about midday Boxing Day. A lot to talk about, right? Well, there's another storm coming in later Boxing Day into Saturday and possibly Sunday, and this one going to be a much slower mover. So initially Boxing Day is quiet. That won't last long. So here we are looking at system number 2 now. That's 8 a.m. Friday, 8 a.m. Boxing Day morning, still south of us. But watch what happens by 5, 6 o'clock. It's snowing again on the Avalon, Burin, Bonavista Peninsulas. Picks up in intensity again in the evening on Boxing Day. The question, again, is how quickly does that snow change to rain for the Avalon Peninsula and essentially some areas of eastern Newfoundland. By midnight, Friday night, still snowing. Looks like it goes to rain after that. Looks like 6 a.m. Saturday morning, it's a mix in the Bonavista Peninsula, snow or rain on the Burin Peninsula, snow through central. And the thing about this one is this low is a slower mover, so there is a good suspicion in my mind that this part of the coast of Newfoundland and even parts of the interior, central northeastern areas, are going to see significant snowfall from this second system, likely more than the first, because it's a very slow mover. The question is going to be essentially how far west does that rain snow line go, in areas that stay just essentially on the other side of it, closest to it, if that makes sense, are likely going to see the most snow from round number 2. And we'll talk about that in just a second, but it does look like we're going to see that snow persisting into Sunday, into parts of southeastern Labrador, and likely later in the day on Sunday as well. And winter storm watches are now up for most of the island for this second system between later on Boxing Day and Saturday. Snowfall amounts. Now, these are computer-generated amounts. I didn't hand draw this one like I did the other map. It's just to give you a ballpark of where the highest amounts are going to be and how much we're going to get. Again, it looks like a widespread 15 to 25 on top of what we see tomorrow for much of the island. But again, we're going to watch where this 25 to 40, we're going to watch where this 25 to 40 zone is, and again, that will be determined by where the rain snow line sets up. And then look at all these pockets of 40 to 50 plus for the Green Bay White Bay area, around Grand Falls Windsor, around Corner Brook, and again into parts of Labrador. So it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that some areas are going to end up with over a meter of snow, especially in Labrador, by the time we're all said and done with these two systems later Sunday and possibly on Monday. That's going to be messy, especially for eastern areas of Newfoundland, where tomorrow it goes above freezing after the snow. It goes above freezing again on Saturday after the snow goes to rain, and then we're quieter for Sunday, Monday, maybe more rain on Tuesday for central. Looks like more snow Saturday and Sunday, as we talked about. Western Newfoundland, same thing. Southern area is going to be very, very similar. Northern Peninsula looks like snow Friday in the morning, and then Saturday and Sunday, flurries on Monday in Labrador. We see the snow along the coast, really on and off, potentially through Sunday or even early Monday, where we're going to see very, very significant amounts. And the coldest weather is going to be in Lab West over the next couple of days and moderates into next week. But then we're going to watch for some bitter cold to see where that goes later next week. But we'll worry about that next week. In the meantime, have a good Christmas Eve. I'll have updates for you essentially as needed as we go through Christmas Day and Boxing Day. So stay tuned for those. I know this has been a fairly long and lengthy forecast. There's a lot going on. And I will have updates for you even though we are essentially on a holiday. The weather's not going to stop. And neither am I, but I will slow down just a tad and try and take in the holiday. Have a very good Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas, everybody. And if you don't have my app, be sure to get it. And if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, give me a subscribe and give me a follow if you haven't already. Have a good night. Stay tuned for updates.